Hey mamas, you're listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast, the only podcast teaching you how to balance your work, motherhood, and wellness. I am Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist and mama wellness consultant. Each week we dive into tips and strategies and much more so that you too can become a balanced working mama. Let's dive in. Hey mamas, it's me. It's Dr. Amber. We're here for another episode of the Balanced Working Mama podcast. This is episode 39. It's hard to believe that we're almost at like 50 episodes. By the end of next season, we'll have had 50 episodes under our belt. So, wow. Shout out to consistency. Podcasting almost every week for the last few months. So here we are, and I'm so excited that you all have continued to listen. And again, shout out to any new listeners that we have. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Amber Thornton. I'm a clinical psychologist and a motherhood wellness consultant, and my passion is balance and wellness in motherhood. So with that is what this podcast is about. That is what I talk about on Instagram. That is what Balanced Working Mama is all about. So thank you for being here. So let's do a check-in before we get into today's episode. I'm recording very early in the morning. I'm sitting in my office. It is 5:42 in the morning. At this phase of my life, am typically not up this early. Before I had Eden, my daughter, it was very common for me to be up this early because this was usually like my gym time. I'm up now because I woke up to feed Eden at like 4 and just could not go back to sleep. And so that is my current struggle. There are a few struggles, as there will be in postpartum. But one is that it is really hard for me to fall back asleep after waking up to feed my baby. It wasn't the case the first time around when I had my son. It was pretty easy for me to go back to sleep, and I think I was just so exhausted. I would wake up and could easily fall back asleep, but this time it's a little bit harder. So I'm just trying to think through what that means for me in terms of my bedtime routine, my sleep schedule, whether it means I'm going to go to bed a little bit earlier just to try to pack in some extra hours at the beginning of the night as opposed to the end, because it's very hit or miss once I wake up with her if I'll be able to go back to sleep. So I laid in bed for about an hour and then decided to get up because I wanted to record this podcast. So my eyes are sleepy. I will probably be taking a nap later, but here we are. And one thing I tell myself in these moments when I find myself in situations that are not ideal, with whether it's related to postpartum, whether it's related to parenthood in general, because I think we all know that there are several times and moments when it comes to parenting or being a mom that things just really feel crazy. They feel hectic. They feel like it's never going to end. It feels like it's never going to get better. But a lot of the time, those things will get better. Those things are often temporary. There's often solutions that will come. And so that's something I had to remind myself when I found myself feeling frustrated that I just could not go back to sleep. I told myself, hey, you are in your early postpartum. We're about 6 weeks in. Eden will sleep through the night eventually. One day you will sleep. And that is the truth. And so reminding myself of, things are temporary, solutions are on their way, sleep is coming, this is not going to last forever is very grounding for me. And that's what I'm doing. So, just a little tidbit if anybody's struggling with something, going through a period or a phase or a transition with your children or even with yourself, remind yourself, hey, this moment is temporary and I know that something is different is going to come later. Well, that's where I'm at, y'all. That's my check-in. Otherwise, we're doing well. We're still adjusting, still trying to figure out what our routines are going to look like with two very little ones. I am about 6 weeks postpartum now, so have officially been approved to resume all of my activities. That is what the doctor said yesterday when I went. So that means I can exercise, I can drive, I can do a lot of things that I'm in no rush to do right now. So I will continue to take it slow. One thing I'm really looking forward to doing is driving. I'm looking forward to actually picking up my toddler. I haven't picked him up in like 6 weeks, and I mean like physically just hold him and pick him up. So I can do that now. Um, as long as I'm paying attention to my body, making sure that it feels comfortable, um, ease back into exercise. So many things that I'm looking forward to doing. So we are adjusting, we are in transition, and that's that. So let's get into today's episode. Hey mama, Balanced Working Mama is growing. I want to make sure that you stay connected and up to date with everything happening over here. So you don't miss any of the good stuff, head over to balancedworkingmama.com, sign up for the newsletter. You'll always be the first to learn of any new podcast episodes, events, programs, and you'll get a hello from me every now and then. So sign up today, mama, because I want to connect with you soon. Hey mamas. So it's me again for a solo episode. We are almost to the end of the season. We have this episode today, and then we have one more in the coming week before season 4 ends. And with that, this episode today, honestly, it's going to be me just kind of thinking through some thoughts about a film or a documentary I just watched on Netflix that I actually highly encourage you to watch. And it just made me think a lot about wellness and healing and what it means for us, but also for the generations before us. So I am going to just talk about that and the thoughts that came to mind and what I think it means for us and what I think it might mean for you in terms of you seeking wellness in your motherhood experience. So the other day, I was chilling in postpartum land on my couch and thought I would check out some Netflix. And I stumbled upon this. I'm going to call it a film or a documentary because it's definitely not a movie. It's not a show. I'll call it a documentary called In Our Mother's Gardens on Netflix. And at first, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to watch it, but it looked interesting. And I decided to watch it. And y'all, I am so glad I did because wow, like it was very well done. It was very relatable. It was very inspiring. And it really had me thinking a lot about wellness when it comes to the generations of mothers that came before us, but then also our generation as well. And so with that, let's kind of talk about context, right? We are in 2021. We know that with Balanced Working Mama, the the tone is as millennial women or mothers in this generation, especially Black women, wellness looks a lot different than it used to. Motherhood looks a lot different than it used to. And with that, we are learning and we're seeing that it's not necessarily attainable or sustainable or doable, feasible for us to try to be the mothers that our mothers were or the mothers that our grandmothers were. There was a tension because we learned from our mothers and our grandmothers how to mother. But then when we got into this role, we realized like, hey, it might not be able to be the way that they did it. And we are currently working it out with community, with support, like Balanced Working Mama, with non-judgment and all of that. We're working through what it means to be mothers right now. We're defining our motherhood, and that is a beautiful thing. But I think for myself, and maybe for you all as well, and this is why I want to talk about this, there's this other piece that has been missing, and it is really understanding where our mothers and our grandmothers and the mothers before us, where they were coming from in terms of their roles as mothers. And so I was watching this film, so going back to the film, and there was so many gems, y'all. Like, please go watch this after you listen to this episode. There was a line that one woman said. She was talking about her mother and how her mother did not take care of herself. Her mother was a smoker. Her mother drank. Her mother didn't take care of her body. Her mother and her grandmother both had, I think it was like kidney disease or something like that. And she talked about the challenge of watching her mother and her grandmother's health gradually decline over a number of years because they were not able to take care of themselves. And that was something that I could very much relate to because I too have been witness to women in my life, my grandmother's particularly, health decline um, pretty fast because they weren't able to take care of themselves in the ways that we are able to take care of ourselves today. My mother, luckily, her health is she's doing pretty well. But similarly, I wish that my mother was able to take care of herself in a different way as well. Same with my father, but we talking about mothers. And so I, full transparency, have found myself to feel some anger and some resentment about the fact that my mothers and my grandmothers were not able to take care of themselves. Same with my aunts. I often don't even know who to be mad at about this. Like, am I mad at them for not taking care of themselves? Am I mad at society for not allowing them to have the opportunities to take care of themselves? Am I mad at oppression? Who am I mad at? I don't know, but I'm upset that these women who mean so much to me and who raised me and who gave me the roadmap for motherhood were not able to include this thing called wellness. And so because of that, it has been very important for me to include wellness into motherhood because that has always been what was missing. But the beautiful thing about this film that I watched the other day is that it helped to give me a different perspective for how to look at this, and to kind of ease or curb some of the anger that I feel about these women not including the keys to wellness in their experience. And what they said, or what this woman said in this film, was that wellness and self care is essentially a privilege. And I don't think we talk about that enough. We don't really acknowledge how wellness and taking care of yourself, there is a bit of privilege in that because it means that you have time to commit to taking care of yourself and to thinking about yourself. It means that you have some sort of access to resource to do it. And so I'm not saying that if you do not have privilege, that there's no way to take care of yourself at all. That's not true. But it's a whole lot easier when you do have some privilege and some freedom and some access to resources. And so we need to be honest with ourselves that taking care of yourself is extremely important. And there is power and privilege that comes with that as well. And so, going back to our mothers, when we think about our mothers and our grandmothers, for many of us, we realize that they did not have the same level of privilege, means, access to resources that we might have today. That is definitely the case for myself. And it might be the case for you as well. And so, what that meant, and what this woman said in this film, is that our mothers, our grandmothers were trying to survive. They experienced motherhood in a time where survival was really the primary survival for themselves, survival for their children, survival for their families, especially for Black women and women of color. Prior generations have not always had it easy, especially when it came to racism, when it came to oppression, when it came to a bunch of shit that still exists today, but not in the same capacity that it did before. And so survival was the focus. And so when I heard that our mothers, our grandmothers were trying to survive, it really put a lot into perspective for me, because it allowed me to no longer be so angry about the fact that we didn't get the keys to wellness. And instead, it made me realize, wow, what a blessing it is to not feel like I am in survival mode. I'm not merely surviving, I'm thriving. And because of that, I can prioritize wellness. And so, what that made me realize is that there is a lot of responsibility for us to make sure that we are prioritizing our wellness, because essentially, our mothers, our grandmothers were not able to do so. I think what that really means is that our mothers, our grandmothers truly did the best that they were able to do in most circumstances when it comes to taking care of themselves, prioritizing themselves. Um, there was so much that needed to be done just in terms of being able to survive the times that they were in with what they had. And so, there is a lot of responsibility for us to get this right, because many of us do have the privilege and the power and the access to the resources to figure this out. And so, what that means is that wellness absolutely needs to be a component in our motherhood. It is up to us to redefine this motherhood experience so that we are not just surviving, we are thriving. And we can do that by making sure that wellness is a very key and pivotal part of our mothering. This is healing for many reasons, but also for many people. It's clearly healing for us. What it means is that we don't have to have our motherhood experience be one of merely survival. We can take care of ourselves. We can prioritize our needs. We can do the thing. We know we have access to resources that tell us, hey, there's 9 categories of wellness for working moms. That's in our wellness assessment. We know how important it is to put yourself first. We know that these things don't make you selfish. We know how to handle guilt and anxiety that comes with prioritizing your needs because we haven't seen it done before. We know how to do these things. And if we need help, we know where the resources are. This is healing to us because it means that we can experience more joy, more pleasure, more health, more wellness, and that is important. It's also healing for our children. Our children need to see us be healthy and happy and whole. Their development and well being is very much dependent upon our well being, our happiness, our joy. When we're happy, they're more likely to be happy as well. When we're healthy, our children are also more likely to be healthy. If we are not well, our children are also not going to be well. And that is something that we have to understand. I think society has sold us this idea that, hey, you just focus on your kids, focus on their health, their wellness, and everything will be fine. That's not true. We need to focus on ourselves, our health, our wellness, because then we are more likely to take better care of our kids. And our kids are more likely to be healthy, happy, and learn to take better care of themselves. So this is healing for them when they're little, but then also when they get older, when they become teenagers, when they become adults, they will know how to take care of themselves because they saw us do it for ourselves. They will model our behaviors. And if our behaviors, if our motherhood experience does not include wellness, they're not going to learn it. This is why this is so hard for us now. We are completely making this up as we go, and we're doing a good job, but it's because we didn't have the model and the keys beforehand. We don't want to do that to our kids. We are in a position to make sure that they learn how to take care of themselves, how to put themselves first, how to not let motherhood or parenthood consume them. We are creating that so that they can have that roadmap. So it's healing for us, it's healing for our children, but also, and this is what the film on Netflix helped me to really realize. And I've realized it, but it helped me to really appreciate it in a different way. This is healing for our mothers and our grandmothers as well, even if they have passed on, even if they are no longer with us. And many of us have our own beliefs about what happened when people pass on, whether they're with us in spirit, whether they are now the ancestors that are guiding us, whatever you believe. Well, I'm going to tell you what I believe. I believe that our ancestors who are no longer with us, who were not able to take care of themselves, who did not have the privilege and the luxury to prioritize wellness in the ways that we do, they are rooting us on because they know how essential this is. They know that this is something that they likely needed for themselves. And there is something about us taking this time, redefining this experience that heals the past generations as well. I firmly believe that. And so, with that, it means that this is serious. I take this very serious because it's almost like a thank you to my mothers and my grandmothers for enduring what they did to get us to a place where I can now prioritize myself, prioritize my needs, prioritize my wellness. Thank you for doing the hard work, for all of the labors of love, for all the times when you were not able to take care of yourself, for all the times that you had to be in survival mode and that severely impacted your physical and mental well-being. I thank you for that because without that, I am not able to be here. It hurts me to think that that is what my ancestors, my mother, my grandmothers had to go through, but I know that that is why I'm here today. And so our healing really is full circle. It means that we get to break this cycle of survival mode for ourselves and our children, and if they become mothers, their motherhood. But also, we get to thank the mothers that came before us for all of the bullshit, all of the terribleness that they had to experience, all of the times when they were not able to take care of themselves because they weren't able to. For me, watching that, thinking about that, having that perspective shift meant that this means so much more now. It's like, it feels like activism almost. It's like, how dare you not take care of yourself? Because there's people before you who wish that they could and they couldn't. And so now you are in a position where you can and you're not going to. How dare you? How dare you? And so if that message resonates with you, I highly encourage you to really think to yourself today and get serious with yourself about, why am I not prioritizing myself when I've had so many women before me who would have killed to be able to do this, who would have loved to be able to take a moment for themselves, to really prioritize their needs, to work with someone on wellness. What is that? Who would have ever thought that that's something that could be done? But we can do these things today, and how dare we not? Why are you not prioritizing your wellness? That is the question that I'm asking you who is listening. That is the question that I'm going to constantly be asking myself in moments where I notice that I am doing too much, or I'm stressed, or I haven't taken care of myself. Why are you not prioritizing yourself when there are generations of women who came before you who made it so that you can today? What are you doing, sis? What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? Why are you not taking care of yourself? And so I highly encourage you and urge you to really get serious about this today because it is up to us. We are redefining motherhood and we're doing a good job. It's time to get on board with that for real. We really need to get serious about what this looks like, how this looks in your life. What are the steps you can take today to make sure that wellness is a priority? Hey mama, I want to quickly tell you about the Empower Wellness Program. This is a dynamic 6-week group for working mothers who are tired of feeling overwhelmed, fatigued, burdened by mom guilt, but then also just not having enough time for themselves. This program takes all of that and transforms it into more wellness, more time for yourself, better priorities, community with other mothers, but then overall balance in your work, motherhood, and wellness. To learn more about the Empower Wellness Program, head over to balanceworkingmama.com. There you can find when the next program begins, what to expect, but then also how to sign up. Hope to see you in the next group. Hey mama, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. It's time to get serious about wellness, y'all. And it's because, like I said, it is important for us. It's important for our children, but it's also really healing for the generations before us. And we got to do this. We've got to really take it seriously. It's time to start today. And so before I go, I want to leave y'all with our Balanced Working Mama tip. And I've got a few. I know I'm supposed to pick one, but the first one is I really do want you to go watch that film on Netflix. It's called In Our Mother's Gardens. It was so powerful. I'm so glad I took the time to watch that. It really was a perspective shift for me in terms of how to think about wellness, how to think about my mother, my grandmothers, and their motherhood, why wellness wasn't necessarily a part, but why it should be a part for us today, why it's okay for us to redefine these things because we now have the luxury to do so. And so I hope that that message resonated with you, and I hope that you enjoy that film. If you've already watched it, let me know what you think. If you are going to watch it, tell me what you think when you're done, because I'm curious to see how it landed for everybody else. The second thing that I highly encourage you to do is to really think about how you can start to take your wellness more seriously today. I do want to let you know that Empower Wellness Program Cycle 4, yes, Cycle 4 for July is almost full. We are still opening registration. Registration is open and it has been open. We've already got mamas that have signed up and we've got about half of the spots open. And so if you know that you want to take your wellness to the next level, if you know you're ready to be really serious and intentional about what wellness looks like for you, if you are ready to make the changes needed that will carry you for months and years on, it's time. It's time to join us for the Empower Wellness Program. This program will drastically improve your wellness as a working mama. It will give you the tools and the skills to redefine motherhood for you. It will allow you to have access to a mamahood community and support that is non-judgmental and that is open and like-minded and truly supportive. And most importantly, it'll get you out of this place where you feel like you can't prioritize yourself. You are not taking care of yourself. Your needs are not important. We are no longer going to stay in that space, and Empower Wellness Program can get you to the next place. So I really hope that you will join us. If you are interested in registering, head to balancedworkingmama.com, select Empower Wellness Program, and all the information is there. If you have questions, hit me up. Let me know. Y'all know where to find me. Email me, Instagram me, whatever you need to do. I want to make sure that I can support you when it comes to redefining motherhood and including wellness in this journey for you. So, mamas, I hope that you, again, enjoyed this episode. Please do check out that film on Netflix. And again, thank you for supporting Balanced Working Mama. If you enjoy this podcast, rate us on Apple Podcasts. Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell your sisters about this. We are really excited about our Balanced Working Mama community growing even more. So thank you for supporting us and thank you for allowing us to be a part of your life as well. All right, mamas, until next time. Hey, Mama. Thank you for listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. If you love this podcast, please be sure to rate it and share it with another mama that you know. And don't forget to follow me and Balanced Working Mama on Instagram. I'll talk to you soon.